Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna start this video and we're just gonna go with it. Um, I'm literally recording this on my photo booth on my laptop because I don't even think my phone memory can take long videos because I'm always running out of memory on my phone. So I just want to take like a long drawn out talking video. Um, which requires me to sit here and yap. So I'm going to sit here and yap. All right, here we go. So I've felt inclined to make this video for a while and talk about the things that I want to talk about, mainly just because I want to, and so I will deal with that. Yeah, anyways, so this is a little awkward for me just because I'm not used to like just speaking to a video, and I don't know if anyone's even going to really see this, and that's okay. I don't think it's really about like the mass amount of people or getting people to watch it. It's just maybe if this could help like one person or like, I don't know, speak to someone, then that's the goal. Even if it's just to myself. Honestly, sometimes I just need to talk to myself. So yeah, but I really just want to talk about how like I've been able to kind of like shift my mindset focus today because there's so many things that I think you could touch base on when it comes to this conversation, but today I want to talk about how it affects with your relationship to your own body, to your beauty, to like seeing what you see in the mirror, focus more the conversation on just like our overall why our relationship with ourselves is so important and why I feel like it's so bad for people, why people struggle so much with liking themselves and having a good relationship with themselves, and what really has helped me heal that relationship as someone who's had a history of not liking themselves physically, and struggled with just constantly trying to please other people and how they feel about me, and how exhausting that is, and how much more freeing it is to let that go, to let that mindset of wanting approval from outside sources go, and how finding approval within yourself is like really a way to be free from feeling constantly perceived. How this started for me is I kind of started asking more questions to myself, um, mainly like, why are things the way they are? And if you just kind of like start asking like the domino effect of like why things work a certain way, you realize that there's like the why or the reason behind it is not the reason you thought, or it's not the seriousness that you've been told your whole life. I think it can start as simple as like, why do people feel the need to anti-age? Why do we need to feel like we are young, we need to be young, or we need to look young, or not the age that we are? Why is that so important? Why is that so important in our society? And first it will be like, well, I feel more beautiful when I look younger, and youth and these things are really important. Okay, so why is youth so important? Okay, youth is important in our society because youthful means maybe more energy. Some people could go from the biological standpoint of like someone that's more fertile, maybe. I don't, okay, like we're not going crazy deep into that, but people can always try to make like a biological argument that like people prefer these things because of reproduction. But in general, why does our society care so much about it? And why do we push people to change to align with those views? And so, yeah, I kind of started asking questions like that. Why do we care to look so young? Why do we care to look thin, or a certain kind of thin? Everyone's bodies are so different, and like you'd think that we've gotten to a point where we can finally accept that at individuals on the street, and everyone is built very differently. People have different bones, like different statures. People have different sizes of waist and hips and bust and arms and legs. Like people are short, tall, everyone has like a different body type. Yet we are so strict on the structure of the body. I think one thing that really messed with my mind was when I was little. I, grew up in the prime Victoria's Secret model era, and you would watch the Victoria's Secret runway shows. And as a child, impressionable child, I would watch them and I'd be like, I can look exactly like them. Mind you, I'm 5'3", and my body is a more curvaceous body, and it always has been. I've always had like a thicker thigh. I feel like I've always carried like a little bit more muscle mass. I've larger bust. Like, I carry weight differently than a lot of models, and that's okay. And but as a child, as a 12-year-old, I would watch them and I'd be like, I can look just like them if I just do the workouts. Like, they would have like Victoria's Secret model themed workouts, and it would just be like a lot of abs, which, just makes me laugh now in my brain. Oh, I can look just like them if I just like try hard enough. And now I think about it, I'm like, these women were 5'6", and they like half of them were from like Sweden or like Brazil. They're from all across the world, and they were picked to fit a very specific look. So it's not that anyone can look like them, because they are reaching a very specific look, and they were chosen because of that. Obviously, as a child, you don't know to think these things, and that's when I kind of started to realize that a lot of constructs and views about myself and the things I don't like about myself were instilled in me as a child. And I think it really came back to like healing your inner child. I feel like this can be kind of a buzzword. Like, people talk about healing your inner child a lot, and they don't know what that means entirely. Like, I remember and I have a psych background, I would hear, different kind of like, heal your inner child. And to me, I was just always like, what is that? Like, what exactly are we talking about? Do self meditations. A lot of times I just did like self-led meditations. I'm a very visual person, so I do a lot of visualization and like meditating with visualizing. And I started doing something where I'm with a younger version of myself. And I noticed that, my interpretation of healing an inner child is reinterpreting what traumatized you as a child, or essentially rewiring the experience. Because as a child, you take everything in so directly and so literally. I remember being told a few things about myself as a child, and they felt very to my core. If they are saying it, and it's usually someone who's an adult, or maybe they're just older than you and they have like somewhat of an authority over you, and they tell you something about yourself that maybe is wrong, or you feel is negative, and maybe you didn't know it was negative. Like, for me, it was like the size of my body as a child. I was told, I shouldn't be that size, that maybe I should skip some meals, that boys won't like me if I'm that size. People won't like me as much. And beforehand, I didn't really feel that way. I didn't know that was an issue. I didn't know anything was wrong with me until something was told that something is wrong with me. And when I was told that as a child, I wholeheartedly believed it, because why would I think otherwise? I was a kid and I didn't have like critical thinking skills. I wasn't like, well, they're projecting on you and they, are projecting how they feel or what they were taught, and like things that I can work out now. And maybe someone spoke to me like that today, I would be much more capable of working it out in my head of like, this should not affect me because they are not me. And I feel like a lot of our self-hatred, and for a lot of people, comes from a young age, because we're so impressionable. And when you're a child, you truly want to learn as much, and you're going to go with more of the status quo, because it's like a means of survival almost when you're growing up. You don't want to feel as if you're the odd one out because you're worried that you won't align with like your current community and the people in it. And this changes for everyone and how they grow up, because some people maybe grow up in a really religious background. So like the things that are really important to them is being religious and showing that they are worthy of being in that church. For some people, it could be, wealth and having a wealthy background, and you are only worthy if you have wealth and if you are well liked in your community. Than us at a young age, we carry them with us because somewhere along the lines of maturing and growing, we still carry the things that we were taught to believe. And it's almost like we never go back and like rewire it. Sometimes we do. Like there's beliefs and things that have dropped off as I've grown, like as a tree grows, those lower branches kind of fall off. Like, those pine trees where like the branches kind of start to fall the longer they grow, and then there's just pines on the top. It's like the branches start to fall off and things start to kind of go, I don't really believe that anymore. I don't really feel that way anymore. And I'm 27, so like I've lived a good chunk of my 20s. I've lived my early 20s. I've lived these years, and I still have more to live and to learn. So I don't think this is my final stopping point in belief system, but I've realized that, when you are getting older, you would hopefully start to deconstruct some of those things. But I've noticed that if you don't really intentionally do the work, things still carry on with you because you just don't know maybe to let them go. And you feel as if maybe those things are really important because you were always told that. And, this really came up to me because of just how the beauty industry is today. And I think we're seeing a lot of stuff come back into our world that is really harmful. We see a lot of celebrities and people who are, have influence with their popularity. They are choosing to be on this really intense regimen to be as young looking and as thin as possible to appease the masses. And as women, and just people in the society, we are often pushed to follow that status quo. And so that kind of like triggered me to feel that way again. It reminded me, I was that little girl again watching the Victoria's Secret show and watching them walk and being like doing crunches while the show was happening, knowing if I do enough crunches, I will look like a Victoria's Secret model and I will have fulfilled something. And then that's the next question is like, what is the end goal? What's next after all of this? What's helped me the most is like deconstructing these things. Because again, it's like you start asking these questions of why do these things exist? And you start to realize that maybe what we've been taught and what we've been told about ourselves is not the most real or factual things on this planet. And I think a big one is, again, just working on breaking those belief systems that have held onto you since you were a child. So when I do the self-guided meditation, a lot of times I'm working with myself as a kid, and it will be in the moment of like a traumatic thing that's happened. Let's say I'm going back to that moment, I'm watching this show, and there's been other times, but like this one in particular. And I'm talking to myself as me now. And what would I get to say to that kid in that moment, going through this stressful event that has caused a lot of pain for my current, future, and different versions of my past self? Well, I talk her through that moment. I usually go along the lines of explaining what's happening. And although like young me may have not actually understood this, it's not really about logic. It's more about comfort, and it's more about forgiveness and letting go. So I usually talk to young me and say things like, this is not about you. It's not about being good enough, that you are good enough for who you are, and that you have qualities about yourself that do not just align with body, with looks, and that if you continuously push for that outcome, that your looks and your body should be the least interesting thing about you and who you are. I tell myself that a lot, especially in these meditations of me when I'm a younger person, because there's been so many times where I've only put value in what I look like in my body, and that is it. And again, if you start asking the questions like it's a map and you go, where, if I continue this mindset, where does it take me? And I realized if I continue the mindset that my body and my physical appearance are the only things that matter about me, and I look to see where it goes, the map is never ending. There is no destination. And that is when I really started to realize I need to get it together and stop caring so much. Because I have seen it time and time again in my own life. I have seen myself in so many different forms, in skinny, middle ground, larger, muscular, rail thin. I have seen myself in it all. And every version of me, when I had that mindset, it was never enough. And all that was playing in my back of my head was being that kid again, being told I wasn't good enough, and trying to prove this insatiable being that has no means of an end, that wants me to continually prove myself. What kind of existence is that? For me, it's not a real one. And for me, I know that there's no end. So I realized I have to start to learn to love myself if I ever want to be happy in my life, if I ever want to feel fulfilled. Because I realized when my initial motive to lose weight or to be beautiful or to fit in with society is merely that, is merely to do it for others, is to merely appease the masses, is to appease the kid who got told she was not skinny enough when she was frickin' 10, and to appease these versions of myself that were hurt, I realized that I'll never feel fulfilled. I'll never feel good. When you have a goal that has no means of an end and it is insatiable because you are trying to fulfill a unfulfilling dream, because our society wants us to constantly be unhappy with ourselves. That's how they make money, is your skin isn't good enough, your makeup isn't good enough, your body isn't good enough. Nothing is good enough, and there will always be a product. And I truly believe that if you continually live like that, that you're just feeding in to a sick society that wants you to continuously consume to make yourself feel better. And they don't want you to look inward to find the true love, which is like everything you already want is already within you. And this doesn't just go for beauty and aesthetic, but lifestyle. Everything you want in your life already exists because you're alive, you're living. It's all around you. The world is yours for the taking. And we sit here and we nitpick ourselves. We look in the mirror and we say, I'm not good enough. I need more. Everything has to be perfect for me to live life. I have to be skinny enough. I have to be beautiful enough. I have to have enough money. And then life, I can start living. Got it. That will never happen. You will never be skinny enough. You'll never be rich enough. You'll never be more beautiful enough. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm not saying like you're never going to reach a goal. I'm saying that your goal has bad intentions, that your goal has intentions that are coming from a place of lack, a place where you're not good enough from the start, a place where your improvement is based off of someone else's opinion. Your beauty improvement is based off of someone else's opinion. It's based off of a society's opinion, or a company trying to sell you skin products opinion, or your mother's opinion, or your grandmother's opinion. You're getting what I'm saying. Your view on yourself is someone else's perspective, and it's not even yours. It's not even how you look at yourself. You're looking at it through the eyes of someone else. Someone who doesn't like themselves. So you're looking at yourself through the eyes of someone who doesn't like themselves. Think about that. Or through the eyes of someone who's trying to sell you something. I guess not someone, a company. So when we do that, that's why it's not fulfilling. And I'm not saying people may be like, well, it was fulfilling when I did exercise and I lost weight, or it wasn't. I'm not saying on the terms of like, you have a goal to improve yourself because you truly want to improve yourself. And it's from the pinpoint of wanting to measure, I'm stronger, I'm this or that. I'm all for that. I work out 5 days a week and I want to see results. I want to be stronger. I want to be able to run the half marathon. I want to be able to do things. And basically, to like wrap it up, that's why I feel like meditation has helped me so much, is because you are asking your own self, like you're basically like how I do meditation. I know some people have an idea of meditation just being like silent time. I do like talking to myself. I'm like working it out with myself. That's like how I'm trying to figure out what it is I want. What do I want? And what is it that I need? What is it that I want? What is it that I need? And make sure that like my opinions or who I am or who I want to be is not getting sidetracked by other people's opinions of me, by what other people think of me, about what other people feel of me. And I feel like doing the inner child work, doing like self-guided meditations has helped me see a lot more clarity in that and who I want to be. So really that's it. I just kind of wanted to get that message out there to someone, to me. I don't know. I just wanted to talk it out, I guess. I feel like it's nice to finally see clearly on some things. And here's the thing is like, I'm not going to love myself tomorrow. I still am struggling with it. I still struggle to not feel like I have to change things about myself simply because it's been so instilled in me my whole life. Like I'm starting to do work on it. It's going to take a really long time, but I think it's really important work to do for yourself, because life is just going to get more complicated, and you change, you get older, your weight fluctuates. Like you're never going to be in your 20s again. You're never going to be in your 30s again. You're always going to be getting older. You're always going to be going through life differently, and life is going to change you physically, and it's going to change you mentally. It's going to change you in every way, shape, or form it can. And I think we should be appreciative of that change. You know, that change means that we've lived. It's like when trees get their rings, you know, it's because they lived and they're growing and they're getting bigger. And, you know, just because our bodies change and we aren't, I'm not as desirable, I'm not this. And it's like, why do we care so much about being those things? Why? That's not that all that matters. I think truly what matters is how we choose to live our lives and how we feel fulfilled. And if you feel fulfilled, and I think that's truly what we want to do is try to find content, you know, try to be content. So like chasing a never-ending beauty standard that is always going to change, and it's always going to make you run for it. It's a carrot on a stick. It's not gonna get you there. It's not going to get you there. You can do it. I'm not like, no one's stopping you. You can continue to chase that dream of being perfect in society's eyes, but it is a carrot on a stick, and you will always be chasing it, and you will never feel fulfilled. And I want to just be content. I want to be content with who I am, and that just starts with understanding why I felt that way in the first place. And I feel like this is kind of just the first steps of that, is just asking why society cares so much about who we are and how we feel about ourselves. And why do your parents feel that way? Why do your why do people in your family and people around you care so much about that? And it's because they have that same thing instilled in their brains, that they weren't good enough either. And so they have to push it on other people to feel that way too. I'm just here to say that's not true. And that you can love yourself, and you can still take care of yourself, and you can still, taking care of yourself is loving yourself. I'm not, it is loving yourself, but it's like, take care of yourself. It's one thing to say I'm healthy, and it's another to say I'm losing weight and I'm doing these things to get smaller. But are you taking care of yourself? So yeah, I just want to kind of like be the voice I wish, I had when I was a kid. And I know I needed to hear this at some point in my life. I needed to hear this when I was a kid, from someone to tell me this, and not tell me the top 10 best ways to lose weight in 10 days or whatever the hell. I need someone to tell me, hey, you need to do some inner work and, figure out what really makes you happy.